I knew the title of this video would get your attention. Who doesn't want a car for free? And I promise you it involves no illegal activity or entering any competitions. Now, it's not going to just arrive at your house with a nice big bow on. That only happens to some people on Instagram. But what I am going to explain is how you can kind of play the system and basically engineer some of the finance payments so at the end of the term, you don't hand it back, but you get to keep the car, basically for free. Stay with us, and while you're hanging out there, would you be ever so kind and click the subscribe button, and then you can hear when our next video goes live. Okay, so I am going to explain how doing a little bit of maths homework could save you £4,280 and get you this car for free. Now, it is going to involve some sums, which might not be the sexiest thing to have on video, but please do pay attention. Promise you I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I am also not an independent financial advisor, so do your own research, all right? Right, now clearly most of us need some sort of finance to buy a car. In fact, about 90% of us do. I do wonder, do the other 10% just have wads of cash stuffed under their bed, ready to purchase a car? Anyway, for the rest of us mere mortals, at the moment the most popular form of finance agreement is something called a PCP. Now, what does that mean? Well, it stands for Personal Contract Purchase. Well, this clever bit of number wrangling, it means that you don't pay for the entire value of the car. Sounding quite good. What you do, though, is you stump up for the depreciation. Now, the benefit of that is that it keeps your monthly payments low compared to the old-fashioned ways of financing a car like hire purchase. Then what happens is that at the very end of that PCP deal, you can pay off the remaining balance of the car's value, and then you get to keep it. You own it. It's yours. And that is what is called a balloon payment. Who chose this balloon? I am speaking to production about this. So you could make a balloon payment and the car is yours, or you could quite simply just hand the keys back. No further payments, you just walk away. But you will be walking because you won't have a car. Right, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the costs involved using the Vauxhall Mokka-e as an example. If I go onto the Vauxhall website today to buy a Mokka-e, they're very kindly offering me a deposit contribution of £9,500. Very nice indeed. They are also then going to offer me a payment plan of £349 per month over 59 months, almost 5 years, because my first payment is going to be a nice deposit of £2,009. Now, what I'll do is probably trade in my old car for that £2,000. And basically, over a 5-year period, I come to a grand total of £22,600 that I have kindly given to Vauxhall for the use of my Mokka-e. Now, at the very end of that comes our lovely balloon payment, and there is an option to pay an additional £9,361, so I get to keep my car. If I don't pay that, I give it back and I have a nice big empty space on my driveway, if I had a driveway. Now, bear with me, because this is another way that you could do it. I've gone on to the electrifying.com marketplace to find a used Mokka-e, and this is what's available at the moment. So, for £19,000 with only 86 miles on the clock, yes, that is basically new, not 86,000, 86 miles, it's going to cost me £19,000. Now remember, I've got that £2,000 from the car I've traded in as a deposit, which means I need to borrow £17,000 from the bank. At the moment, I can get a fixed rate loan for 5 years at 6.1%, which means my monthly repayments, £328. Over 60 months, that means I've spent a grand total of £21,680, which, when you do the maths, means I have saved £920 and... Hang on. What is this terrible drawing? It's my Mokka-e. I get to keep the Mokka-e. After making all of those payments, you get to keep the car without a balloon payment. Can you tell I chose the balloon this time? Whoa, that was louder than I thought it was going to be. Whew. But there you go. See you later, balloon payment. The car is yours. The only tiny difference is that it's got an extra 70 miles on the clock, and also it's a slightly earlier number plate. If it really bothers you that much, fork out an extra couple of £100 for a private plate. The props department have been very busy for this shoot. I feel like this belonged to a Kiwi driver named Bob. It's not a misspelling of boob. I said it. But it gets better, doesn't it? Okay, so there's another used mocker at the moment. Okay, slightly higher mileage, 7,000 miles, but it's going for 16.5k. I've got my £2,000 deposit, so I need to borrow 14.5 grand at 6.1%. Hang on a minute. The bank said they can do it over 4 years instead of 5 at £340. So it's £9 cheaper, but I pay it off a year earlier, which means the grand total I've spent is £18,320, which means I have made a saving of £4,280, and yes, I get to keep the car. Thank you. Just for completeness and to stop people from furiously typing into the comments, buying a used will mean you lose 1 year's warranty. So let's add that in too. Vauxhall is going to charge you £408.58 to be precise for the complete level package for an extra year on top of the standard 3 years, which does seem steep, but hey ho. So we're going to take that off our totals. That's about £30 a month, but you're not going to need that for the first 2 years. Now, I know that you know that we know that used cars have always been cheaper. I mean, that's not a revelation. That's not what I'm saying here. But don't you think it's a surprise at just how much cheaper they are now? And also how much the price falls as soon as the car is registered. Now, there are other ways of financing a car too. Leasing, which is also contract hire. And actually, that might work out cheaper than PCP. But you are still going to lose the car at the end of the agreement. And also, actually, it's worth noting that if you're doing high mileage, then you're going to be restricted on the number of miles you can do. So keep an eye on that one. I think, honestly, there are lots of us who think that financing a car is the cheapest way to go because you see a figure, it looks affordable, and let's be honest, who wants to do all of the complicated sums in the background? But it is important to do those comparisons, shop around, otherwise you could miss out on that free car. What a disaster that would be. Hopefully we've done the hard work so you don't have to, but if you do have any questions, do let us know in the comments below, and fingers crossed we can help you out. For lots of other tips on how to save money and get the best deals, head over to electrifying.com.